and welcome to the Business Standard Morning Show. I'm Kanishka Gupta. It's the 20th of September 2023 and here are the questions we will be answering today. Why is net neutrality being debated again? What does the heritage tag mean for Santiniketan? Should mutual fund investors redeem their holdings? And what's new in iOS 17? Telecom operators have renewed their call to revise the rules around net neutrality. They want to charge some interest-based intermediaries like Netflix, Amazon Prime and WhatsApp higher than others. The reason? Well, telcos say that these service layer apps are putting extra pressure on the network, especially after the rollout of 5G. Ayush Mishra has more on it.
Network neutrality or net neutrality is back in the news. The last time we might have heard about it was when Meta, earlier known as Facebook, had pushed for its internet service called Free Basic in the country in 2016. It was the year when the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, or TRAI, had barred service providers from offering or charging discriminatory tariffs for data services purely on the basis of content. Soon, Facebook snapped Internet Service for India. Some experts had described it as digital colonialism while alleging that it was a little web that turned the user into a passive consumer of mostly Western corporate content. Now, net neutrality is in the news for a different reason. Telecommunications giants such as Bharti Airtel, Reliance Jio Infocom and VI have once again urged the government to allow them to charge some internet-based intermediaries like Netflix, Amazon Prime, WhatsApp. They argued that these apps should pay telcos network cost based on the tariff they generate. This request stems from the increased data consumption attributed to the usage of these applications, which in turn exerts additional stress on their network infrastructure. This development has triggered concern, with some considering it as a potential threat to net neutrality. In response, stakeholders have revived the Save the Internet campaign, urging people to participate by writing to TRAI in defense of net neutrality.
One size is not going to fit all, or if you look at just one side of the debate, would not work. Or if you look at it from the perspective of just the OTT players or the telecom players, that's not going to be the right approach, where they just pass on the charges on to the consumers. So today all of them are charging, and the consumer is actually paying those charges. But I think if there has to be a relook at that, probably the consumer perspective has to be taken into consideration as well. And certain amount of charges should ideally be borne by both the telecom as well as the OTT players, while a certain charge can still be passed on to the consumer.
Reliance Jio in its submission claimed that OTT players consume humongous amount of bandwidth, which puts tremendous pressure on the network infrastructure established by the telecom service providers or TSPs without contributing an iota to this cost. At the same time, OTT players gain massive direct-indirect benefits. Thus, it would be all the more fitting that both communication and other OTT players contribute towards the cost of this infrastructure development through direct compensation to TSPs. Vodafone Idea said there is a need that OTT players should contribute towards investment in the network. A policy framework should be prescribed on fair share contribution from the large OTT players to TSPs towards the telecom networks.
Over-the-top OTT, which has started riding on a network without paying any either rental or tariff or in whatever form. They don't pay anything, they don't contribute anything. And they run on top of a network and they reach millions of subscribers, earn huge amount of revenues by ad revenues and subscriptions, and they don't pay for upkeep of the network. Please understand, the networks are an essential part of OTT offering. without a telecom network, they cannot reach their subscribers. So it is but logical that they should also contribute to building up of that networks of the requisite quality. Their entire earning depends on these networks, and yet they don't want to contribute anything onto these networks. The TSPs are forced to build networks and earn minuscule revenues from B2C, because B2C, in India the tariffs are very low, and the amount of money that is put into building these networks is not recoverable by only B2C networks.
Globally, the EU and some countries have started to revise frameworks to regulate these services at par with communication services being provided by telecom service providers. Indian telecom companies are following trends that want internet companies to pay them a network fee based on the traffic they generate, turnover threshold, number of users, and so on. Zerodha co-founder and chief executive officer Nitin Kamat took to X to share his views over the net neutrality debate. He said, "Recently, there have been talks of revisiting the idea of net neutrality in India. We enjoy some of the strongest net neutrality rules in the world, ensuring a fair and level playing field for everyone to access and innovate on the internet, no matter how big and small."
Net neutrality means that you have to offer the same service to the same segment of people at the same cost, isn't it? That is what I understand of net neutrality, and that's the paper says. We are not increasing the burden, or we are not differentiating between B2C subscribers. They will continue to be net neutral the way they are. As far as B2B is concerned, that becomes a separate segment. There also, we are not saying that we will charge differentiated rates from different companies. So they will also be net neutral. So where are we making a deviation from net neutrality? As TSPs, we are committed to adhere to the principle of net neutrality as enunciated by the government.
If net neutrality is revisited, then a lot of larger internet service providers or telecom service providers, as we know them, will sort of play cahoots with larger OTT players, and they will be able to dominate the customer mobile or a television screen. Because only the larger OTT players will be able to pay the fees which the telecom service providers will be charging them, and only then they will be available. It will lead to discouragement of innovation. It will lead to reduction in choice. It will lead to taking away powers from the hand of consumers and giving it back to the service providers, particularly the telecom service providers and the large OTT players, which will be against the spirit of internet, because internet does not discriminate.
According to reports, the government is unlikely to change its earlier stance on net neutrality. It may ask both the service layer apps as well as telecom companies to work together and find a solution to this issue.
Away from the chaos and uncertainties of cities, a small West Bengal town tucked in lush green paddy fields was in the news recently. Santiniketan, the famed place where Rabindranath Tagore built Visva Bharati over a century ago, has been added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. Established in a rather turbulent time of struggle against Britishers, Santiniketan was Tagore's alternative of an ideal world. So what does the UNESCO tag mean for Santiniketan? Tariq Ahmed tells us.
After years of anticipation, Santiniketan in West Bengal, the home of Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore, was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site on September 17. India started its efforts to recognize Santiniketan as a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 2010. It was part of the 150th birth anniversary of Rabindranath Tagore in 2011. The decision to include Santiniketan in the World Heritage List was taken during the 45th session of the World Heritage Committee in Saudi Arabia. Rabindranath Tagore's abode of peace, Santiniketan, is situated 154 km north of Kolkata in Birbhum district of West Bengal. The history of Santiniketan goes back to the mid-19th century, when Rabindranath Tagore's father, Debendranath Tagore, found solace in the serenity of the land here. Later, he purchased the land and built an ashram. His house, named Santiniketan, was built in the early 1860s. The name later came to denote the entire area. In 1901, Rabindranath Tagore took charge of the ashram and established a school based on the Gurukul system with 5 students. The school promoted outdoor classes and taught a wide range of subjects. Over the years, Santiniketan embodied the poet's vision of a place where learning and living transcends religion and regional boundaries. Santiniketan started getting global attention after Tagore won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1930. He used the Nobel Prize money to expand the school and establish Vishwa Bharati University. It was declared a central university by an Act of Parliament in 1951. Now, Santiniketan becoming a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Vishwa Bharati has become the first living heritage university in the world. So, what does the UNESCO recognition mean for Santiniketan?
So you look at the artists, writers, musicians from the 30s onwards till as recently as the 60s, 70s, or even a little later. They all have roots with Santiniketan, and it is this that shapes the modern India. It's a major contribution that Santiniketan makes in making the modern India. And that, I think, is the crux of the centrality of Santiniketan, and it is is being placed on the World Heritage List is a recognition of this contribution of Santiniketan.
According to the Kolkata tourism website, around 2 million people visit Santiniketan every year. The UNESCO recognition is likely to increase the footfall of visitors. The World Heritage recognition will now also make it difficult to interfere with the character of the place with structural and architectural changes, believes writer-filmmaker Hashmi.
Now, the kind of very myopic kind of things that have been happening, attempts to demolish old, within quotes, structures and build new, and to introduce what is called, what is contemporary architectural practices, which do not fit in to the climatic requirements of our country, and especially of the area where Santiniketan is located. It will become easier for Santiniketan to prevent these attacks.
The government of Bengal needs to sit down and needs to take cognizance of what is the criteria for priority. Priority then, with a place of a heritage tag, is not just about architecture, upkeep, culture and heritage, but it is also about creating an ambience that reflects the philosophy as well as the depth of human generosity of spirit that was there when it was first created.
For a site making its way into the World Heritage List of UNESCO leads to greater awareness for heritage preservation. Santiniketan, on its part, represents a masterpiece of human creative genius and cultural significance. The site is eligible to receive financial assistance and expert advice from the World Heritage Committee to support activities for its preservation. It now also becomes protected under Geneva Convention against destruction during a war.
Santiniketan is the 41st Indian cultural site inscribed on the list and the third from West Bengal. After Tagore and his realm, let us shift our focus back to the modern world. Let us talk about money now. Net investment in equity mutual fund schemes hit a 5-month high in August, days ahead of record high levels in the markets. The total AUM of the industry and the total investor folios too are at an all-time high. However, with macro headwinds rising and call for caution growing, should mutual fund investors book profit? Nikita Vashisht decodes in our next report.
Backed by strong undercurrents in the Indian economy, equity markets are testing all-time high levels. The S&P BSE Sensex surpassed the psychological level of 67,900 on September 15 and hit a lifetime high of 67,927 in intraday trade. The Nifty 50, on the other hand, topped the 20,200 mark to notch a new all-time high of 20,222 the same day. The BSE mid-cap and small-cap indices too hit new highs above 33,000 and 38,000 respectively. While a large part of these gains has been driven by foreign portfolio investors, domestic institutional investors and mutual fund investors have been flexing equally. DIIs have net bought net stocks worth nearly 1.2 trillion rupees thus far this calendar year, and mutual fund investors have poured a staggering 98,800 crore rupees. In fact, mutual fund flows in the month of August achieved many milestones. Take for example, net inflows into equity mutual fund schemes hit a 5-month high in August with total industry AUM at a record 46.6 trillion rupees. Mutual fund folios too reached a record high of 154.24 million. However, as soaring crude oil prices and relatively stretched valuations act as fresh headwinds, should mutual fund investors redeem their holdings?
One of the most important things to me is to not get carried away by the market euphoria and stay to your long-term investment plans. It's especially tempting to either do certain redemption decisions or some big investment decisions because of these landmarks. So my suggestion is to not disturb the long-term plans. Do not look at either any sudden redemption plans or sudden top-up plans just because of the all-time highs in the market.
As per data provided by the Association of Mutual Funds in India, redemptions or repurchase of equity schemes climbed from roughly 16,890 crore rupees in January to 30,400 crore rupees in July. They, however, fell to 24,577 crore rupees in August 2023. Against this, Vishal Dhawan of Plant Ahead Wealth Advisors says, investors should adopt strategic asset allocation and may choose to go slightly underweight on equities. Moreover, investments analysts say should be spread over months from here on.
So for incremental surplus money deployment, if somebody is very overweight in equity, for incremental deployment, they can consider products like multi-asset allocation fund or balanced advantage fund, which are tax-efficient way to participate in equity market. If somebody wants to build incremental position in equity, maybe they can stagger their investment over the next 12 months via systematic transfer plans.
In a nutshell, analysts advise investors to adhere to long-term strategy and prefer balanced advantage equity savings and arbitrage funds in this environment. On September 20, markets will await the US Federal Reserve's interest rate decision.
He's making plans for an early retirement. Business Standard.
Shares of Apple, meanwhile, have drifted after the release of the iPhone 15 because analysts and markets are skeptical if it will drive a sales boost. Moving on, the tech giant has kicked off the global rollout of iOS 17 for supported iPhones on September 19th. So what sets the new OS apart from the earlier version? Harsh Shivam tells us.
The free upgrade to iOS 17 is available for iPhone XR and later models, including the iPhone SE. iOS 17 introduces new features enabled through new apps, a redesigned interface, and customizable widgets. iOS 17 introduces a fresh iMessage app design with a single drawer for all iMessage-related services, including the camera, photos, stickers, and more, consolidated in one place. Additionally, iMessage now features a catch-up arrow to allow users to swiftly navigate to the first message in a conversation. Other enhancements include search filters for contextual searches, audio message transcription, a swipe right gesture for quick replies, and auto check-in notifications. iOS 17 makes iPhone widgets more interactive. Users can now use widgets to access connected devices, receive real-time updates from supported apps on the lock screen, and manage music on the go. Additionally, Apple has introduced a new lock screen experience called Standby, which utilizes the iPhone's always-on display mode to provide glanceable information. The phone app now incorporates a contact poster, a new feature introduced with iOS 17. The contact poster can be a photo or a memoji that you add to your contact card on the iPhone. It is displayed in full screen on the recipient's phone app. The phone app also offers a live voicemail feature, allowing users to answer calls even if they have been redirected to voicemail. As for FaceTime, it now supports video messages similar to voicemails in the phone app. Expanding the capabilities of AirDrop, iOS 17 introduces the Name Drop feature. This feature allows users to share contact information by bringing two iOS 17-based iPhones close to each other. You can choose specific phone numbers or email addresses to share, along with contact posters instantly. The keyboard now displays autocorrected words with an underline, and users can revert to the original word with a tap. The new keyboard also includes the inline prediction feature, which suggests words to complete sentences. Visual Lookup is a new feature that enables users to identify plants, animals, landmarks, and more from a video or an image. It can even find recipes for similar dishes from a photo. To use it, long press on the object in the video or photo and tap Lookup in the pop-up menu to retrieve details related to the selected object.
Backed by the nation's trusted bank, SBI, the banker to every Indian.
iOS 17 also allows users to download maps for offline use, supporting turn-by-turn directions and place ratings. Well, that's all for today. For more news and analysis, please log on to business-standard.com.
If you like this video, share it and subscribe to Business Standard. For more news, views and insights, log on to www.business-standard.com. Do also follow us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram and LinkedIn.